Chinese people yelling sideways racism. And the Indians ain't yelling shit because they dead. So everybody bitch about how bad they people got it. Nobody got it worse than the American Indian. Everybody need to calm the fuck down. Indians got it bad. Indians got it the worst. You know how bad the Indians got it? When's the last time you met 2 Indians? You ain't never met 2 Indians. Shit, I have seen a polar bear ride a fucking tricycle in my lifetime. I have never seen an Indian family just chilling out at Red Lobster. Never seen it.
So that's Chris Rock. And some people might be upset that's his joke and it's about his own perception of things. It's his truth. So before I get into the comedy of it, let me ask you broadly, in your view, and Teddy's African-American and Carmen, although has a very white last name, is Latina.
I mean, it's from Spain. I don't know if that's Latina, but I'm Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
So what do you prefer?
Oh, I don't care. I just don't know if that's Latina, but I'm half.
Don't know either.
Yeah. I'm, European? Iberian? I don't know.
Well, do you think today's America versus Obama's time he was president, do you think America's more racist today, less racist? How do you feel?
I feel like we're more sensitive now, so we are more careful and we're more offended.
Now, is that because of Trump? They were so sensitive.
Yeah,
everything on this show we blame on Trump.
Trump is racist.
So you know,
I mean, he's got...
Well, I have to say he didn't invent racism, but do you feel like, how do you feel about the country now? I mean, Teddy, let me ask you this. Even before Obama, Trump, before anyone was president, is America at its heart a racist country?
It's always racist. It's just a matter of the level of racism. Like, Trump right now is right in your face. Like, I'm sick of holding this shit in. I've been in the closet way too long.
Right.
You know, and Obama is more like, how's Obama? Like, you go somewhere and they go, oh, how much is the tickets? Oh, $150. And like, okay, we won't be going in there.
So under Obama, if you wanted to be racist, it was harder to do it.
You know what I'm saying? It's like more hidden. It's like, well, people can say, oh, the tickets, they're just trying to make money. Or, you know, you can keep certain people out of there that can't afford those tickets.
So in the time of, like, I mean, Carmen, you're some kind of Spanish. I'm not sure what you are at this point. You're Latina.
Spanglish.
But have you ever heard a person running for president call, and you're not Mexican, but Mexicans rapists and rail against
that's
immigrants?
horrible. He shouldn't. Yeah, absolutely. He is
so that's
the worst. New. That is new.
Right. And how does that make you, when you hear that from someone, the GOP leading candidate at the time running for president, demonizing...
I'm so angry on so many levels just because I feel like Republicans aren't even, whatever, that's a different story. They're still backing him.
Sure, they love
whatever,
him. Right.
Because they're getting what they want.
Right.
But that's just not who we want as a leader. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but...
You can tonight. Speak for America, Carmen Lynch.
It's so disappointing, you know, that this is where we are at this time of in 2019. We have this guy who lies all the time. I'm just going to go off on Trump.
We had so much, no, we've done a lot of lying. But have either of you had any incidents yourself where someone was racist to you? Let me ask you, ever in your lives?
Yeah.
And
I tell you a story. I was doing a show, and after the show...
What year approximately?
Not too long ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago.
Okay.
I was doing a show, and I don't know if the guy was drunk or high, but something was wrong. Because he came over to me, and he's like, hey, I just want to say, you know, he wanted to open up to me, and he wanted to share some shit. And he said, my father still call you people niggers, but I'm trying to break the habit.
Wow. That's how he's kind of
right. And I'm thinking,
you
know, he's sharing the wrong shit right now. But I'm like, okay, he's drunk. But I'm thinking to myself, he said a habit, which
he's trying to break up, like he's doing
a habit. Like, yeah, like like smoking is a habit, drinking is a habit. There ain't no nigga rehabs.
So calling you the N-word, absolutely right. So that. What about you, Carmen? Anything?
First of all, that's insane because he's trying to make it positive, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's
he's saying it's a habit. I can't help it. I need to say it, but I'm trying to stop.
I'm trying to stop. I'm going to taking a class. I have the N-word patch on me right now.
My father still call you people niggas. He said niggas, but I'm trying to break the habit. I'm like, you're not doing a good job of breaking that habit.
It's interesting. I've had people say to me in the years after 9/11, because pre 9/11 I was white, I was a white guy living a white guy life. Even though I'm Arab and Muslim, I look like a white guy. My name's Dean.
But during the summer, when the
I
sun's
get tan.
out, yeah, then you expose, right? You're like, all right, hey, you're not white.
I gotta take the bus everywhere. No planes for me during the summer because I get too tan. But no, after 9/11, when I became a minority, because of the world I live in, and I realize I'm defined by the worst in my community. Only minorities are. White people are not defined by the worst in their community. But if someone is really bad Arab guy does something, I have to answer for that. And same as other minority communities. No, right? Like somehow, like what's up with that? But what I get here, the kind of like subtle racism, but in a nice way, or subtle bigotry, like, oh, but you're one of the good Muslims. That's what I get. Like I'm one of the good Muslims. I'm like, I'm not really one of the good Muslims.
Well, you should say you're one of the good Christians.
I don't even know what their religion is, but very well could be.
That's offensive. You know,
what do you say when people call you a good Muslim? How do you respond to that?
Good Muslim.
They'll say it because
I get that
Muslims,
for Spanish.
Right, I want to ask you that.
Yeah.
Have you
I get that for black too. Like you're one of the good ones. I could take you home for dinner. Really?
Like Hannibal Lecter type of thing. Like, what if so people said to you, you're one of the good good Spanish people?
Yeah, but they put that in my mouth. Like, I didn't say that. And they're like, oh, so you're like one of like the upper class. And I'm like, no, because I'm from Spain. You know what I mean? Like, and then I have to speak for Spanish from Spain people versus like Latinos. And I'm like, I never said that. And they're like, oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. You are.
So you're saying good more in snooty than good. Like
yeah,
I
more
get good
snooty,
like
more upper echelon.
Right.
Yeah.
I get good like I'm not going to hijack a plane. That kind of stuff. You're getting different. You're getting no seriously like you're not going to kill us or try to behead us like the other Muslims we see on TV.
Yeah.
You're one of the good ones. That's literally the conversation I've had countless times.
Okay.
Because they'll bring up things about Muslims and here's what happens. They'll say something about Muslims. I'll be like, I'm Muslim, and they'll be like, but you're one of the good ones. Like, and we're only talking about the bad ones.
You keep saying that shit, I won't be.
So, that's right.
I'll be your worst nightmare.
Start screaming Al Akbar, and let's see how this plays out. So that's where I hear. You hear, though, because you're tall? I mean, why?
Because Spain apparently has that
you're
more
European,
of
not
that.
South American or Latin
Exactly.
American. Interesting. Yeah. And how do you see Latin American or South American Spanish people? Do you feel a connection? Do you feel you're better than them?
I love speaking Spanish to them. I mean, sometimes they will talk back to me in English. Like I'm like sometimes if I see someone trying to get directions or trying to whatever, I'll speak in Spanish, and they're like, I can speak in English, and I'm like, I was trying to make it easier for you. Never mind then. I'm sorry, but you know what I did?
Because they think you're white and doing it to them. Is
maybe
that
as
why?
like I don't know.
Carmen looks kind of
they,
white.
I thought she was white
feel very
too.
White. Can I tell you something racist that I did by accident?
Sure.
My cleaning lady, not that I mean, she comes out once a month, whatever. She's my landlord's cleaning lady, and she came upstairs. This is so bad, but she's Greek.
Okay.
And I spoke to her in Spanish, and I couldn't stop, and she's like, hello. And I was like, hola, ¿cómo estás? She's like, I don't speak Spanish. I'm Greek. And I did that like 3 times. And I'm like, my boyfriend's like, you're so racist.
You kept saying it over and over?
Like,
why? Because you cannot believe she's Greek? You denied her Greekness?
No, I think in my head,
she has to be Spanish.
She has to be Spanish.
Ah, that is racist.
It's so
no,
racist.
it's not racist. Look, in New York City, it's a normal. It's probably a commonplace assumption.
Yeah.
Has it changed your behavior going forward, though?
Oh yeah, she came today and it was fine.
And you made like gyros for
like,
her.
She's
and
Greek.
You're hanging out.
She's Greek.
You're playing.
She's Greek.
Did you really commit to the Greek thing, like Zorba on and like Greek wedding songs playing? You're like breaking plates, the whole thing.
I mean, like I. It's not that I grew up with cleaning ladies, but the ones I have had or my parents have had, they've all been Hispanic.
I did. I grew up with white cleaning people. They worked in my yard.
Seriously? You're kidding. I can't tell. 'Cause you could have, but you had the look on your face like you're kidding. Interesting.
I got something worse than that. It was a woman from Iran, right? So I didn't know where she was from, but I said, I like your accent. Where are you from?
Right.
And she said, Iran.
And
I said, where's that? And she said, then she started talking about Iran and all the good things and rugs and culture and everything. I was like, I said, where is that? She said, Middle East. I said, they got all that there? This is my ignorance right here. I'm
fine,
like,
you're being honest.
So she said, I guess she said to herself, fucking American, Iran. And I said, oh, you pronounced it wrong.
Well, because only in America they say it's Iran. We say Iran in America, like Iran.
It's
Iran.
Yeah,
it's Iran.
She said Iran. I was like, and then she said Iran. I'm like, oh.
Okay, so let me ask you, how do you have a conversation about race with someone and ask questions say you're in the real world, someone comes up and they have an accent. Are you more hesitant just in the real life to ask questions about your accent, where you're from, out of fear of insulting or offending someone?
Well, it's so easy to insult now because if you're on stage and you're like, where are you from? They'll be like, Detroit in their accent. And you're like, well, I mean your ancestors. Where's your family from? And they're like, Detroit, you know, or whatever.
Well, Colin Quinn was on Monday, and he had a funny bit that I played from his last one-man show where he's like, he talked about someone who was actually Mexican. He goes, here's a real story. Someone's Mexican. He said, someone came up to him after a show. Go, why do you have to say the guy's Mexican? He goes, because the guy was. So he did a whole joke, and it gets to like, so this life form comes up to me. You won't say man or woman or anything. And that's, you know, because to me, being respectful of others' cultures or their religion or their race is important. And that's, I don't call that political correctness. I just call it being like a civil human being to each other. Some on the right demonize that. But there is a line the other way where my fellow progressives will say things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this is coming from. Like I've had people say things about my act. I'll talk about being Arab or Muslim, and they're like, that's a little offensive. I'm like, you're not even Arab. How can you say that's offensive? I'm talking about my own people.
Yeah.
You can't well, I think you're furthering a stereotype. I'm like, I'm talking about a bigot saying hateful things about me. But that's the other point. Like, at what point when you're telling a joke about your own respective communities, Teddy African American or Carmen Spanish?
I prefer black.
Black. All right, Teddy's black. At what point are you ever worried about furthering a stereotype as opposed to breaking it down, or you don't even care? You're just telling a joke to get a laugh, and that doesn't matter.
I don't do too many jokes that, you know, stereotypes
about blacks.
Yeah, I kind of like when I hear one, somebody saying it, I go, man, what the fuck are you doing? I say, if a white guy said that shit, you'd be upset.
Right.
So don't say it.
What about black comics that you see? We don't have to mention
That's
any
what I'm
names.
just talking about.
Right, they go on stage. They go on stage and they do
when they
the thing.
say something, you know, stereotypical about being black people, because they're doing it to get a laugh. They
Exactly.
want that laugh.
Right. You know,
and I'm like, really?
It's an easy laugh.
So you're gonna tap dance? I hear the tap shoes. You know, and I'm like, stop tapping, man.
Have you ever watched a black comic and go, this is a minstrel show, what you're doing?
Yeah,
This is ridiculous.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Because I wonder, from your point of view, as being black, not African American, if you see that,
African American bullshit.
No, but if you, because as a guy who is, used to be white or whatever, I'll watch some black comics. I'm like, I wonder if black people like that, because they're playing for in the city to primarily white audiences, and they're getting easy laughs, right?
And they know white people will like it. They love it. They know they're gonna get a laugh. It's an easy laugh. It's like a sex joke. It's an easy laugh.
It
doesn't take too much thought.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any jokes you do that talk about being Spanish?
I used to a lot more when I first started. I talked about my mom a lot.
Your mom. You did a whole accent of your mom.
Yes. And now it's just, that's old stuff, so I don't really do it anymore.
I talk about your mom in my act.
Please do.
With an accent. It's
but I even
funny,
used to do that. I used to do this. One of my very first jokes was about dating short guys. And I said, short guys follow me around like I'm Snow White, but it's never 7 of them. And if they are, they're Hispanic because, short Spanish. And that, if I ever did that now, I think I did that once, like at a show where nothing current that I was doing was working. And I'm like, I need to go back to really old stuff.
And did they laugh at that?
It's a little offensive now that to be like, oh, Hispanics follow me around like I'm Snow White. But I don't do it now. But the last time I did it, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not even going to do that anymore.
It's funny how our acts, you could do the same joke and things have changed. I even say in 5 or 6 years, in the last 5 or 6 years, I've noticed certain jokes I did that you sense this hesitancy in the crowd that wasn't there before.
They're afraid to laugh.
Right there. Like when I do you do any shows that are primarily black audiences, Teddy?
No.
Do you just mix whatever's there?
Yeah, I just go wherever they pay me.
Right. Do you do any audience that are primarily, any events that are primarily Spanish?
I mean, if I do, sometimes they're Spanish. Like I'm doing it in Spanish.
Because you perform actually in Spanish.
But if it's an English show, no, it's usually just a mix of everything.
I won't deny it. I won't not do the show.
Right.
Like whoever's at the show, you're at the show.
Right.
And wherever I'm booked, I'm going to perform. So I don't have no preference of audience.
No, because I do a lot of shows for Middle Eastern people. I produce a lot of them or Muslim audiences. What I like about them is that I can do jokes in shorthand. I don't have to explain anything about who we are or our background. And the most fun is looking in a way like a white guy and be able to make fun of white people to the brown audience.
Feel safe, huh?
Because they're like, white people are the devil. No, I don't really say that. I'm kidding about that. But
take
you get the idea,
white man, take it.
But the idea that you could get away with a lot more with my audience about my own community that white audiences might get like offended at like, oh, I think you're making fun of them too much. Meanwhile, they love it, you know, because it's about them and it resonates, it's truthful. It's stereotypes within our community that most people, like I do joke, I mean, that Muslims were horribly late for everything, you know, like this is what we do. And we have a term we use, it's in Arabic called inshallah. Inshallah means God willing, inshallah, which means you're going to do things. But for Muslims, I explain it to you people, but
what do you mean, you people?
No, but it means it's also used like if you don't want to do something, you say inshallah. Like, oh, well, you're gonna go there, sure, inshallah. And it's overused where situations I joke that God wouldn't care about. Like I was in a restaurant in Jordan, I asked the waiter, "Where's the bathroom?" He goes, "It's over there." I said, "I'll be right back." He goes, "Inshallah." I'm like, well, what has happened that I need God's protection in your bathroom? Now, for Muslims, they laugh at every single part of this joke. For white people, they explain, inshallah is over, and you're explaining so much, and you're like,
Yeah.
can't you just all convert to be Islam in the perfect world? If everyone was Muslim in America, I'd be the hugest comedian. I'd be one of the top 5. I shouldn't think Hassan Minhaj is bigger now, and Mo Amer, a few others have grown. But years ago, it was me and like 5 people. I mean, it really was.
Well, do you still have that festival?
We did the Arab Comedy Festival. We did our 16th festival. All right, let's take a break. Come back with more of my friends Teddy Smith and Carmen Lynch talking about comedians talking race in a way that I hope is insightful. I'm not sure. I just want to be honest about race, and we'll play a few more jokes from comedians when we come back right after this.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
Voting is the most important civil right of our era because the right to vote preserves all other rights. It's not the Second Amendment. It's not guns. It's voting.
Sirius XM Progress. And now, more of the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM's Progress.
And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live right here Wednesday, January 9th. We're doing it's a new segment. We're going to do it periodically, I think. We'll see. I'd love to hear what you think. It's basically comedians talking about sort of hot button, almost third rail issues and trying to make sense of it, at least being honest, hopefully funny at times. Joined by Teddy Smith, comedian. He's been on the show before. Friend Carmen Lynch, who may have seen on Conan or Colbert. So here is Wanda Sykes' joke about white people fearing about becoming a minority in this country. And she says in a joke what other black people have called me and told me. And I just happened to find this joke now. I'm like, wow. So, and we'll talk about the fear. What if you see it being jacked up, this true fear of certain white people of demographic change that I never saw before, but now I am seeing. Let's hear. Here's clip number 8.
I think white men, they get upset, they get nervous, like a minority or another race gets a little power. It makes them nervous because they scared that race is going to do to them what they did to that race. So they start screaming reverse racism. This is reverse racism. I'm like, wait a minute, in reverse racism, isn't that when a racist is nice to somebody else? Isn't that to other people? That's reverse racism. Like, what you're afraid of is called karma.
That's great.
That is a great joke. The music underneath this is from a CNN special on race and humor, and I stole some of the jokes. That's where that music behind it. I don't even know you heard the music, but have you gotten a sense? Maybe because I work in this radio show and I talk to people and I read about it. I clearly have not seen a time where there's a great fear by white America that they're going to be replaced. And literally those young guys in Charlottesville last year chanted, "We will not be replaced." And they articulated a feeling some other white people have. And I've dealt with some white supremacists who've emailed me things. They think I'm white because I'll see my picture of me and they think I'm on their side. And why am I defending, Muslims and these brown people and stuff? But when I've talked to some of these white supremacists online and Twitter, they'll tell me all these great things white people have done through history. And they're factually correct. But then I ask them, but what have you done? And they disappear because they've done nothing. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to ride on the coattails of others. But, I mean, am I wrong? Is my perception just subjective? Have things not changed? Do you get a sense? I'll ask you first, Carmen. Do you get a sense that white America is truly fearful of demographic change? Or is it blown up by the media? Like, what are you seeing in real life?
I mean, I think everything's blown up by social media, but I think some middle-aged white men that I know, I won't name anybody, but yeah, they're afraid that they're not going to get jobs because they're just being replaced, but they're not starting a riot or a parade or, you know what I mean? Like
they're mumbling about it.
They're just dealing with it. And, but
have you ever talked to anyone who said they actually didn't get a job or promotion because they're white?
No, but I have heard through different groups.
I've had conversations with white people.
I've heard through different, groups that, they're looking for minorities for the job, that they shouldn't apply.
Oh, interesting. How would that make you feel if you were told we're not looking for, I'm sorry, no one of Spanish heritage here. We've already got 3.
I think it happens in a lot of things. I think, in some auditions that they're looking for a 20-something. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. You know what I mean? So you just go for something else.
Carmen's 76 years old. That's why. Teddy, what have you heard? I mean, have you heard any grumblings of white people that you knew? Would they share it with you? You're black?
No.
Right behind you.
They won't share their real feelings. They might ask me some dummy question, fake question.
That's funny. Behind you on the screen is Tucker Carlson, who I call Tucker Klansman, who is truly the mouthpiece for white victimhood in this country. Trump, of course, is the king of white victimhood. But I'm not kidding. It's on every single night in my studio. And during the commercials, I do watch it because I'm mesmerized. And white victimhood and the idea that he's had segments, I'm not kidding, talking about demographic change and no one is designed to handle this, so it's not your fault you don't want the Latino person. Literally saying that stuff on national TV just a few months ago. I mean, this is the world we live in where it's out and open, where they are rallying against the idea of America becoming more demographically changed. So when Trump talks about a wall, we know what this is truly about. This is about an idea of physical manifestation of keeping white America white and keeping brown people on the other side of that border.
Honestly, it's just rich white people scaring poor white people so they won't join the colored poor people.
So, and you're going back like to the days right, really after
that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just rich white people scaring poor white people. They're going to take your job. So some farmer is going to wake up at 4 a.m. and go milk the cows, and my brother's out there go, yo, I already took care of that. I already handled that shit, bro. They're fucking taking our jobs.
Interesting. It's interesting to see when you look at right after the Civil War in the South, blacks and whites who were poor were bonding together.
And that's why they said, hey.
Right, and rich white people got
That's
concerned.
where white got invented right there.
Right.
White was invented right there. Look, you're white. You're better than them. We want you. We'll give you these guns. We'll give you this stuff. Just watch over them. You're with us. But they're not. They fell for that bullshit.
Right.
They're not with them. Because then they wouldn't be poor and they wouldn't be doing the shit they do. These slaves are taking your jobs. No. These slaves ain't getting paid.
Right. It's interesting, too, when you mention like when white started, because in America we say race is a social construct. Race is just something created. And that's true because I shifted races and that should not be possible. Like if you're born white, you should stay white. I'm not. I'm a minority. And when I said I was white before, it wasn't like I didn't know I was of Arab heritage or my background, and I didn't deny it. It just was not relevant at all. After 9/11, it became unbelievably relevant. Every media article was like Arab American Dean Obeidallah, or people would say things to my face about being Arab or hateful crap. Like I do a joke in my act. This is true. I was at like a pizza place and the TV's on like CNN, and the guy goes, "See these Arabs on TV?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I got an idea. Let's kill them all and let God sort it out." I go, "Sir, but I'm of Arab heritage." He goes, "You don't look it." I'm like, "Well, that just makes it easy for me to achieve the goals of my mission."
Telling you
right?
undercover.
Right. So that's the thing. Like I'm the undercover, but the reality is I would hear, because I don't look Arab, I would hear people say horrible things about Arabs to my face. And on some level, it was actually eye-opening because you said they won't, right? There's certain white people who are not going to share. You're black. You can't hide. You can't be a tourist. I can be a tourist in the white world because I look like a white guy. But so also, I can hear what they're really.
Even though some black people think they can hide it by changing the way they talk and the way they act, and I'm like, brother. No. Back in the day, they used to straighten their hair. Maybe white people will like me if my hair was straight. Like, brother, that ain't gonna help.
Have you ever busted someone? Like I used to work at a bank before stand-up, and I was supposed to approve this woman's check, and I had to go to the manager because it was above my limit.
Right.
And she was like, "Pero te puedes creer esta señora que no me..." Like just right in front of me. And I just answered her in Spanish, and she was so embarrassed.
What did she say?
How can you believe this woman doesn't think my check is real? She has to go to her manager. And I clearly explained that it was above my limit. I had to go ask, and she was just going off to her friend, and I just said it back in Spanish to her, and I'm like, "This is above my limit. I'm just doing my job." And she just looked like, I can't believe she speaks Spanish.
For you, that must happen. Is that commonplace in your life? Because you don't look, I don't know what people think Spanish is, but maybe because your name, maybe because the way you look.
Well, I'm also really tall. Like, half of my family in Spain, goes up to my shoulder, so they don't.
You're like a giant.
I'm a giant in my family. Like my father and I, he's now shorter than I am. I am the tallest person in my entire family.
How did this happen?
Well, my dad's 6 feet tall and he's American, but he's slouching, so now it's me. But my mother's 5'1", and her whole family in Spain is pretty much 5'1".
Do you have any jokes in your act that deal with racist experiences or even racial perception?
Yeah.
Like what's
when I was a kid,
right?
I tell this story. When I was a kid, I had a friend named Dennis. Dennis is white, like pure white, blonde hair, blue eye, like really white. Like you looked in the mirror and said white 3 times, he would appear.
Okay.
So me and Dennis would go to the store, and I would walk around the store, and they would watch me. They would follow me, and at the time, while they were watching me, I didn't realize Dennis was robbing the shit out of them. He was stealing everything. And we get outside, he's like, "I got this, I got that." Like, oh, every day we went down there. And they didn't catch on that.
It was Dennis.
Dennis had the big coat on and everything. I'm like, it's June. They don't, what they think he's doing with the big coat on. But they were following me. So I use that to my advantage. Sometimes
racism helps you.
Sometimes it's not help me, but you can make them pay for being racist.
Well, I want to play a quick clip, and then we'll go to Carmen. Here's Dave Chappelle talking about how racism helps black people. And obviously it's a joke, folks. Clip number 10.
Sometimes racism works out in black people's favor. Terrorists don't take black hostages. That's the truth. I have yet to see one of us on the news reading the hostage letter and shit. They is treating us good. We all chilling and shit. I'd like to give a shout out to Ray Ray and Big Steve and
So he's saying that, but he's also playing on a negative black stereotype there in the way it's written and a very like grammatically incorrect at the top of it. Then it gets funny. I do a joke about how there's an upside to being Muslim, and I do it for Muslim and white crowds, about that if you have a very Muslim name, the benefit is you're immune to identity theft. Because criminals want to take names that are not going to get attention, like John Reynolds, not names like
Oh my God, that's my boyfriend's name.
John Reynolds? Oh, so John is in trouble. But like names like Abdul Musser Rahman Abdullah, they don't want names like that. They're like, no, like I'll just pay in cash. Like you're Abdul Musser Rahman Abdullah, like no, I'll pay in cash, and then move on, type of thing. But your boyfriend's name is really John Reynolds?
John Reynolds, yeah.
That's the whitest generic name ever.
He's very white and generic.
Is he a comedian?
He writes for TV shows and stuff like that. He's mostly on the improv side, but he mostly does like animated shows. And he wrote for The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson for 6 years.
Wow, that's worked out well. You have someone in the field.
I know. Have
you ever dated anybody who's Spanish?
I dated a Peruvian and I dated a couple of Latinos. Never someone. Well, no, I did date.
Did you
one guy
care?
from Spain.
Did it matter? Did you go like, oh, I'm with one of my own now, or did it matter or not at all?
Not at all. No.
And you have nothing against dating a future Spanish guy if things don't work out with John Reynolds?
No, totally. I never cared about the height or the color or the anything. I really didn't.
You're really obsessed with height. I'm not what to say.
No, I've dated more short guys than tall guys, but I've dated like every color under the rainbow. I just think you need to be fun. Like I have this thing with funny, but also personality. You know what I mean? Like
you're intertwined.
Like some of my friends have been like literally to my face, he's not about John, but in past, like he's not attractive. And I'm like,
what?
But he's funny. And that just makes him so attractive to me.
So there are women actually out there, folks. Believe that.
Carmen's a nice woman.
Have you, I don't know, Teddy, you married? I don't know if you're married.
No, I'm divorced. I've been divorced since 2012.
All right.
I'm almost over it now.
Seriously? It took that long?
No,
you feeling
I'm just
good?
kidding. I was over it 2011.
Have you dated white women?
I wouldn't say date. I sleep with some.
But would you limit your relationships based on race? Not at all. You don't care less.
No, sex is sex to me.
Well, a relationship is a reason why you're divorced, perhaps. I think we're getting to it here. The relationships are more than just about sex. No, my girlfriend I live with now for the years is from the Middle East. Like she's Arab from the homeland, like shipped in, like got her on eBay type of thing. Folks, I'll be here all week. So she came with free shipping. But she really is from the Middle East. But I never dated someone of Arab heritage before that. Always just, white. It didn't matter. Just white women, frankly. Italian American a lot because I'm half Italian. Irish, German, and then she's the first one, as I've told her, the last Arab I'll date, but we might be together forever. We'll see how it works out.
So is it easier to date her in some ways?
Yeah.
Here's the easiest thing.
Is it Dean?
Here's the easiest part. I did not have to explain to her the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict because she is Palestinian and born in Israel. So she's lived it. She knows it. So that was every white woman I dated would be like, so who are these Pakistani people? I'm like, oh my God.
I get nervous walking around with a white woman.
Why is that?
Oh, especially when I see like black women walking towards me.
Can I just say,
I feel like I gotta explain to them why I'm with the white woman. Like, okay, I don't think she's better than you. I'm just with her because I need to catch a cab.
But some black women don't like.
They don't like. They look at you. They look at you like.
They will look at you like. And I can.
Brother,
I remember that.
You know better. You know better.
Well, people in my family kept saying about my girlfriend, well, are you going to date a Muslim girl? I'm like, I don't really care I really don't care what their religion was. And my girlfriend happens to be Muslim. We're both as secular as they come, but we're still connected to our faith at the same time. But like, it didn't matter to me at all, frankly. But for people outside of me, like family members, it seemed to matter. So I wonder, I never dated someone who was black. I always wonder how my family would respond. I don't know. I think my dad passed away 20 years ago, but he was a brown immigrant man. Probably okay, but Arabs don't have the best history with black people. They can be racist like anyone else can be. I wonder, my mom's Sicilian. I'm pretty sure it would have been awkward at times. I have to be honest.
She shouldn't have been. She should be used to it. She's Sicilian, right?
It does, but no, my mom said things like
some black in
my mother married a Palestinian Muslim guy from the Middle East, and has said things to me like, you're with an immigrant, isn't that? Do you really want to be? I'm like, you married Dad. I mean, It's not even a joke. This is the truth. Like, I've had these conversations with her, where it's remarkable what a person can do, but then when they look outside of themselves, that, isn't it difficult and challenging dating an immigrant? And, her first language is not English. She speaks English perfectly now. But I'm like, you dated Dad. You married.
That's the same with my parents.
Crazy?
Totally.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's the same.
It's like sometimes you can't even be with somebody that's nice to you and good to you because you don't want the shit that comes with it. You're like, I don't want to deal with it. But I like you. But I don't want to deal with this other shit over here.
Here's a quick joke by Ali Wong, comedian's Asian American, about why it's good to be with people of your own race. Here's clip number 9.
I think that for marriage, it can be nice to be with somebody of your own race. The advantage is that you get to go home and be racist together.
So because you just like the same groups together. It's race in America and relations, white and black, like men dating white women or black men dating white women or white or vice versa, has been such a taboo in that in 1967, I'm not testing you guys on this, but the Supreme Court case, Loving versus Virginia. There's a movie about it. That's the Supreme Court case that said, right. Yeah. The Supreme Court case that said the laws in certain states that we still had that blacks and whites could not get married was unconstitutional. All right. So you're like, wow, it's about time. But in 1967, here's the worst part. 70% of Americans thought blacks and whites should not get married, and those laws were fine, including a big percentage of black people as well. This is what's remarkable. It took 20 years later to finally a majority of Americans were okay with blacks and whites getting married.
What year was this?
For 1967, still 70% of Americans. So this wasn't a red state, blue state. 70% of Americans supported laws that would stop blacks and whites from getting married. This is off the charts when you read these polling.
Now check this out.
It took 25 years later.
Jack Johnson?
Yeah, the boxer.
First black heavyweight. He's a fuck with white women.
Right.
Back in the late 1800s.
He had a lot of trouble.
He was fucking white women.
But he had problems with them.
And knocking out white guys in the ring. Back in he ain't had the NAACP, he had Nation of Islam, Farrakhan, nobody back then.
But, all right, let's take a quick
break. About that.
We're going to think about that during the break. We'll be right back with Teddy Smith and Carmen Lynch right after this. You're listening to the Dean Obeidallah Show, where we crush Trump's lies every single day.
On SiriusXM Progress 127. This is the Dino Vidala Show, exclusively on SiriusXM's Progress.
And welcome back, Dino Vidala Show. We're live right here. Teddy Smith, Carmen Lynch. It's our experiment tonight. We're going to see. Maybe we'll do it again, maybe not. It's about, but I just want to try it out here and talk to my friends in an honest, brutally honest way, in a non-academic way. Because if I had on, scholars on talk about race, it's a different conversation. If we had a discussion with even pundits or journalists about race, it becomes more couched in they know what they're supposed to say and what they're not. They're never going to push the envelope. But I'm hoping with comedians, you could say, I wouldn't say this. And that's my thing. Like, have you written jokes in today's world where it's truthful? You believe in your heart it's funny, but you don't want to tell it because you might have a backlash.
Well, there's a joke that one of the first jokes I wrote, I loved saying because it always got this crazy laugh. Was, and it's all true. Like, I used to date black guys a lot. And then the rest of it is the joke, which is true, which I said, but sometimes they're scared to go out with me because my last name is Lynch. Oh. And that would get a killer, no pun intended, laugh.
Teddy's laughing.
Yeah. And then, you'd look around and the blacks were laughing and they thought it was funny. But in this world, I don't do that joke anymore. But it slowly over the years got less laughs.
It's interesting. Have you had people come up to you after a show and ever complain about a joke that you touched on race ever in your act anywhere at a college or any club?
No. The only time someone really got offended is so silly is because I said mean things about cats. And I'm like, that's what you're mad at? Like I said,
really?
Yeah.
What could you say about cats that were so mean?
I said, do you ever just want to kill a cat just to see what life it's on?
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, that's such a joke.
Right, it's clearly a joke. I mean, analyzing so jokes cruel. Like it's Trump speeches and fact-checking jokes to me is a bit much.
I've gotten emails that are like, cats save lives, da-da-da. And I'm like, I can't even talk to this person.
I've had some jokes where people have said things like, I'm a little uncomfortable by that joke. I went to a college show and there were some students and I would discuss it with them. But if I heard it consistently about a joke, I would say there's something wrong with that joke. If you hear it one time and you've been telling that joke for 7 or 8 years, like, well, someone came to that moment with something in their life and they heard it and they took that joke in differently than everyone else. But I'm respectful. I never go like, I don't want to hear from you, kid. I'm like, why did that trouble you? Like, I'm so curious about people. I'm like, why? And we have a discussion about it. But I remember being on CNN with Don Lemon once, and we were joking, and it was something that came about Canada, and I completely a joke. I was like over there. I'm like, Canada, we could invade that in 20 minutes. It's not even a real country. Why do we even call it Canada? We just call it America North. Something. And I was saying it like over the top on purpose. I got so much hate mail from Canadians, like emails from, and I'm like, how could you not get that's a joke? And what I found out is that Canadians are tired of American comics putting them down. That's all they hear all the time. And I guess it wasn't clear enough that I was just, that's not for my act or anything. I was just over the top, just venting about something that's silly that came up. And it's interesting you could touch on something not knowing that it troubles people because there's baggage there. There's a history there.
But doesn't that worry you? Forget the Canada thing, but in general, doesn't that worry you that we are going to be limited to what we can say over time?
That's why I think comedians need to have the freedom to offend, but not the freedom from criticism. Like if you tell it, like Louis C.K. told jokes about the Parkland survivors, which I completely get why the survivor parents and even those who were killed were outraged. I get it. You read the jokes like, oh my God. And now it's up to Louis to tell a joke again, knowing what has happened or not. But that's really, to me, the standard's going to be, if he headlines and no one shows up, well, the audience has told him there's no place for that. But in the spectrum of comedy, if I hate prop comedians, should that be there's no prop comedians anymore? Like, if someone's truly sexist or racist, I will call them out. If they're just being like over the line and it's uncomfortable or even cringeworthy, that's comedy. You have to have a spectrum.
have to have that ability to do that. And that is...
And I wouldn't tell that joke ever. Like what he said about Parkland. I would never tell that joke.
Did he say, and I'm not for it, I'm just curious because I can't remember. Did he say the word Parkland, or do you think if he had shifted it
No,
to...
it was clear what it was about.
Yeah,
they went to Congress and stuff like that. No, I get it. When I understand the parents and I understand the outrage about it. And I'm not defending the jokes. I'm defending comedy in general. That you cannot lose... if you're going to fact check comedians more than you're fact checking Trump, there's something wrong. Like we should reserve this real outrage
because we should be allowed to lie in our jokes. Like tell jokes, go to the extreme, but our president shouldn't have to lie. Shouldn't lie. Period.
That's really interesting. The idea that comedians should lie.
Well, we're creative people. We should be allowed to come up with ideas.
We can do it, but you don't want your president lying to. Well, yes, you do.
Well,
kinda. You don't want him to
maybe
tell you
a white lie. You don't want to make people panic. You don't want
to know the real shit that's going on because you never sleep.
But every news thing is on. There's another lie.
But we live in a world where, like, okay, there's another lie and the media covers it, and then a comedian will tell a joke tomorrow, and that'll be the news cycle for a couple of hours about Louis or Ricky Gervais or others in the past. And I'm like, why can't we just reserve our outrage during the time of Trump for the bigot racist in the White House who's sexist, horrible? And I'm not telling people not to vent their anger. If you're angry at a comedian, you should tell them. Make them know. And that's their choice. They want to keep telling the jokes. They're going to pay a price for it. Or not, I mean.
But if they still have people coming to their show, are they allowed to just keep being controversial?
It's up to them and the bookers, isn't it? I mean, that's the power of the market. If they're being racist, if it's a Klan comedy, it's a little different. I would have no problem going, that's just absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
But the Klan has a right to exist. That's life too. All right, let's take a break, come right back.
Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127. The Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.
And welcome back, Dean Obadala Show. We're live right here Wednesday, January 9th. My friends Carmen Lynch and Teddy Smith. So you guys are touring the country all the time. Where are you guys going next? If people want to find out where to see you and perform, tell all your jokes, where should they go? We'll start with you, Carmen.
I put everything on CarmenLynch.com, and I think I'm in New York a lot this month. I'm opening for Attell at Governor's this Friday.
David Tell?
This Saturday, yeah.
Right.
And then I have a couple of shows. I'm headlining, I think, Long Island, somewhere else next week, but it's all on CarmenLynch.com.
Carmen Lynch. And what about you, Teddy Smith? You're traveling through April, you told me. Weekends booked all over the place.
Well, I got a show coming up soon. I got a show called Taking Chances. It's called Taking Chances Comedy Show, where I got comics get up on stage and really take a chance, take a risk, be who they are.
What do you mean, not do their act? Like actually talk or something?
Just whatever's on your mind, like your show here. Just
Right.
whatever you want to say that you can't say in the other clubs.
Really?
You say on my show.
So I can get on there and badmouth other club owners for not booking me?
Well,
Screw
just take a risk.
Right.
Who you are. Just be who you are, who you really are, not just that fake. Oh, hey guys,
Right.
Just be, so it's
Interesting.
called
How's it
Taking
working?
Chances. It's great. It's
At
great.
Broadway Comedy Club, right?
Broadway Comedy Club, January 16th at 8 o'clock.
How often are you doing it?
I do it once a month.
It's
And
great.
it's really good. People have a good time when they come in there.
So check it out, Broadway Comedy Club, January 16th if you're in the New York area. And if you're in the New York area, January 20th, the next Big Brown Comedy Show that I produce with all brown comics, not your kind of brown, Carmen.
Oh, man.
Indian, Arab, Pakistani, that kind of brown. We'll be back tomorrow, all new live show. Have a great evening.